Hey everyone, it's Jamie here. Before we dive into today's story, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever felt like you had to choose between your true self and the people who are supposed to love you most? It's a question I've wrestled with my entire life, and today, I'm finally sharing the raw, unedited truth behind my journey. This isn't just my story. It's about finding your voice, even when it feels like the whole world, especially your own family, wants to silence you. If my journey resonates with you, hit that like button and subscribe to channel. Your support means the world and helps me keep telling these stories. Now, let's rewind to where it all began. The bitter taste of cold coffee still burns on my tongue, sharper than any shame I'd ever known. You call that a career, Jamie? It's dirty, disgraceful. My father, Arthur, fixed me with a stare across the polished dining table, his words cutting through the forced cheer of another one of those dreadful Wellington family gatherings. We were all squeezed into ironed shirts, pretending to be a picture-perfect family, but the air was thick with unspoken judgment. No one moved. No one dared to speak. Then, the final blow. You are not welcome in my home until you can give me an acceptable explanation for this behavior. My gaze darted around the room, desperate for a friendly face, a dissenting voice. My mother, Martha, looked away, her silence a wall I couldn't climb. But my sister, Lily, just offered a mischievous, knowing grin. That was all it took. I stood up, gripped my camera bag, and walked out of that house, my childhood home, for what I knew, deep down, would be the last time in a very long time. That was 6 months ago. Yesterday, my phone rang. It was Arthur, but this time he wasn't calling to humiliate me. He was calling to ask for $100,000 to save. Lily. My earliest memories aren't of fancy toys or perfect grades, but of my beat-up Polaroid camera and grass-stained jeans. While Lily wowed everyone with her perfect piano recitals and straight A's, I was the kid squatting in backyards, capturing ladybugs on leaves, squirrels mid-lep, corporate ladders, and Wall Street portfolios. They were foreign concepts to me. My dreams were painted with untamed creatures, dense forests, and the quiet power of visual storytelling. When I was 16, I sold a photo to a conservation nonprofit for $200. I had a tiny but growing following on Flickr. That news sent me soaring. Beer money, Arthur had scoffed. Hold your horses, Jamie. But to me, it was proof. My efforts weren't in vain. I earned a partial grant to Columbia University's visual documentary department. This was it. Serious training. No chasing stardom, just honing my craft. I mentioned it at supper, and Arthur's expression twisted. Stupid dirt and fleas. You're willing to sacrifice your life for them. Squatting in marshes to film is the future, in your opinion? Never. I asked if he could chip in for housing, since the scholarship covered tuition. He was unmoved. Go collect your soil. So, at 19, I uprooted my life, found a tiny studio in Queens, worked nights as a waiter, days as an intern photographer. My hands always smelled of something: dog fur, burnt coffee. I struggled, but I succeeded. I didn't go home for the holidays for a few years. When I did, I made sure my camera was tucked away, my stories brief. Martha always warned me not to upset Arthur. Still chasing squirrels, Jay? Lily would ask, with that familiar giggle. Maybe if I just kept quiet, kept smiling, kept bringing a bottle of wine, they would eventually see me. Perhaps they would realize success didn't require a business suit. But they never asked. Not until they needed something. My studio was small. Just enough space for a desk, a mattress, and a tripod. Peeling paint, not particularly inviting, but it was mine. On weekends, I volunteered at a rescue facility. The air there always smelled of dog wash and eucalyptus. That's where I got my first serious break. I was photographing a pit bull cuddling a kitten when a senior vet noticed. She asked for copies for their website. The photos helped find homes for those animals. The next week, for other pet food and grooming startups emailed me. It wasn't about being bestowed with treasure. It was about opportunity. It started like that. Product shots for local businesses, articles for blogs, and invitations to eco-parks and animal sanctuaries. No agency involved, just a trustworthy eye, reliability, and some generous souls who shared my name. Eventually, I started a YouTube channel, Wild Lens, mostly behind-the-scenes footage, tutorials, field diaries. It was messy, sometimes muddy, but it was real. It was honest. People connected with it. 6 months in, a video of me rescuing a snared deer went viral. Nationally viral. Wildlife magazines contacted me, brands reached out for sponsorship. My channel hit 500,000 subscribers, then 1 million. I kept my modest life, the same college mattress and coffee maker, but my income became consistent. I opened a photography studio in Vermont, teaching summer workshops on shooting wildlife in natural settings. Day after day, it was pure, solid, and my family. They heard nothing from me. That year, during my Thanksgiving visit, Lily bragged about her beautiful downtown condo. Arthur beamed with pride about her successful corporate law career. I omitted the fact that one of my spreads had just been featured in National Geographic. I kept quiet about the book deal I'd just signed. Yep, I just nodded, smiled, passed the cranberry sauce. That night, staring at the guest room ceiling, a thought whispered, "You could win an award, and they'd still call it a hobby." I considered sending Arthur the article. Of course, I didn't. Quietness had become my weapon in the war for peace. Then came the next family gathering, the one where the final hushed whisper broke the spell. "It's a party," the message read. Martha's text 7 days earlier. "Everyone's expected for Sunday's family gathering. Important announcement." I should have known better than to bring anything remotely heartfelt, but I did. A framed photograph of a lioness mid-lep in Tanzania, capturing the last rays of sun in her amber eyes. I truly hoped it might spark a new conversation. I was wrong. It was the same as before. Symmetrical hedgerows, perfumed plinths. Cold. Lily was already there, nails perfectly manicured, sipping something pink, exuding that air of casual superiority like a delicate, suffocating scent. Arthur stood by the fireplace, swirling whiskey like he was rehearsing a sales pitch. Martha adjusted the cheese board with surgical precision. My familiar surroundings made me feel like a stranger. Then it began. Everyone, into the living room. Arthur boomed. My picture, still wrapped in brown paper, sat perched on the edge of the sofa. Lily looked smug. I still don't know why Martha was already crying. Arthur's jaw clenched. Then they beamed. He was thrilled to announce that Lily was starting her own real estate development business. And, to support this new venture, a significant amount of money from the family account would be invested into her new business. A chorus of applause erupted. Except from me. I turned around. No one even glanced my way. I subtly raised my hand, like a school kid. Arthur's brow furrowed. Jamie, I sighed. Will I be getting any assistance with this? His grin vanished. You, he scoffed. Look, Jamie, you've made your choice. Mud, bugs, howling dogs. That's not a business. That's a somewhat unsavory pastime, to put it mildly. Everyone in the room froze. A hiss of elevation. I've already told you this family isn't investing in your plan to live off stomping around in poop. I stared at him, shocked. The stillness roared in my ears. Then I saw Lily's mischievous grin. Unwrapping the frame, I extended it. This photograph will be featured in National Geographic next month's issue. I was thinking it might look good. In your office. He didn't even look. Ignored it completely. Get it out of my house, he ordered, sternly. And pack your things. Leave tonight. I blinked, gesturing. Is this for real? Deadly serious. Martha said nothing. Lily sipped her drink. None of that made me cry. I kept my voice low. I rose, went upstairs, and gathered the few possessions I still had in that house. Before I left, I placed the lioness photograph on the foyer table. I walked out again. But this time, it was irreversible. The train ride back to Vermont was silent, broken only by the gentle clink of metal on metal and the infrequent beep of an unread message. I sat by the window, knees bent, forehead resting against the glass. None of that made me cry. I say that not because the pain was little, but because it transcended mere tears, a kind of agony that makes one feel like giving up, like receiving official word of something you've suspected all along but hoped wasn't true. The moment I unlocked my apartment door, I set my suitcase down and made a beeline for the darkroom. Standing in stillness, I switched off the lights and turned on the red. There, in that little room, where the aroma of vinegar and dust was constant, I felt secure. After putting it off for weeks, I finally printed the shot of the flying owlets. Sharp wings juxtaposed with the fuzzy trees. The way it dries on the line mimics the gradual revelation of truth. The next day, I resumed my work. 6 students, bundled up, stood knee-deep in woodland dew at 6 in the morning, trying to catch the light shining through the yellow maple leaves as the fall workshop got underway. We waited in a clump, joked, and sought warmth while waiting. For birds that never came, it was easy. No lies were told. I owned it. My nights were spent doing things I'd only fantasized about doing during the day. Editing images, uploading tutorials, responding to comments, handling sponsorship emails. One manufacturer even gave me a branded camera line. I refrained from informing my relatives about it. Weeks passed, nothing from them. Are you all right? Excuse me, but no. Not even Martha's passive-aggressive voicemail. My sleep quality improved. One night, sipping wine in my kitchen, I watched the first snowfall gently drift across my garden. I distinctly recall murmuring, more to myself than to anyone else, "This piece is pricey, but it's money well spent." After that, I silenced my phone. Getting away from the house I had left was important, but I also needed to get away from the parts of myself that wanted to be a part of it. Wild Lens hit 1 million subscribers that winter. There was no party for me. But I did order myself a chocolate ganache cake. I munched on it alone, grinning from bite to bite. For once, it was true. I didn't care if anyone else applauded. Then, on a Tuesday, it arrived. My phone beeped as I poured hot cider into a broken cup, having just wrapped up filming a story on winter wildlife monitoring. Arthur, the name on the screen, froze me. I let it ring until it was nearly over. Then I picked up, against my better judgment. "Is this Jamie?" he spoke. "Hi there." Coldness. His voice was thinner than usual. Managed, but tipping over somewhat. "Is that so?" Quietness? No more than that. "We kindly request your assistance at that point." Leaning against the counter, I took a comfortable position. I reasoned. "She's your sister, Lily. Problems are brewing for her. It is understood. Real estate flipping is her new business enterprise. Her accomplice ran away. On top of that, she has a loan payment due at the end of the month, 2 litigations, and 3 properties to deal with. 100,000. A gaping hole of quiet opened between us. Her entire world is about to crumble," he chimed in, "including the family surname. The standing we've earned." The words sat with me. At last, I inquired, "Tell me why you're telling me this." He sighed. His response seemed practiced. Considering how great you're doing, I watched your films. This is your channel. The setting, you're the proud owner of a new creation. Here, at ... very pleased. I laughed, precise and concise. You said that what I did was dirty. I was forcibly removed from your residence. That happened half a year ago. His voice had ceased. And with that, I present. I am once again your daughter. Because I possess an item that you require. Jamie, please don't act this way. He lost it. Restoration of pent-up impatience. Lily is your sister. I am your daughter too, I fired back. When you shamed me in front of my whole family, though it was irrelevant, that was when you told me I could go without anything. He spoke more quietly. Don't dwell on the past at this moment. No, I said calmly. Now is the moment to learn to accept it. Retrying was his next strategy. You're born with her. Equally so, I responded. The concluding line followed. Because your feelings were injured, are you really willing to allow your sister to drown? An almost smile crossed my face. No, I declared. Since she is on the boat you constructed, I will allow her to drown. By the way, you two were more than glad to set sail without me. My name is Jamie. His words were abruptly interrupted by me. My place in that family is clearly defined by you. So, when it needs saving, don't give me a call. That was my last ring. The following day, I silenced my mobile. At least this time, the subsequent quiet didn't seem like someone had left. Freedom was the feeling. The sharp knock occurred when it was still dark, persistent, and way too soon. I looked at the time. No one ever showed up at the studio at that hour. No shipments either. I hesitated, lightly parting the curtain. Outside, 3 people stood. Arthur, Martha, Lily, totally still, still no response. Now, gentler, almost wary, I merely pried open the door a crack, immovably obstructing the doorway. Are you even here? Lily timidly led, her voice quivering with fear. Excuse me, Jamie. Please listen to us. Her appearance had changed, carved out a crimson rim round her eyes. Furthermore, she clung desperately to her purse, as if it were her only anchor. Arthur stood rigidly behind her, arms crossed over his chest in a military salute. Martha hadn't gotten much rest. Nothing moved me. Our situation is critical. Martha's voice cracked. Defend your sister against a lawsuit. The money comes from banks. By the time we pay, will everything be lost to you? I completed her thought. I overheard. Lily blew her nose as she wiped. It was my fault, all right. I am certain that I accomplished that. I didn't anticipate, though, that it would crumble so quickly. In my mind, I could manage. Then I arched an eyebrow. Were you really under the impression that you could sustain teasing me on every holiday for a decade? Fleeing, she became visibly distressed. I didn't intend for. In any case, you accomplished it. With each joke, with each grin, you always meant it when you treated my work like trash, when you disregarded it. Have you finally reached your breaking point? At long last, Arthur spoke. Enough, Jamie. Prior transgressions are irrelevant here. It all comes down to family. You refuse to forsake blood. He held my gaze. I did it. He tightened his jaw. You left me high and dry in front of an entire audience, I whispered. And you expelled me because I went in a direction you didn't think was right. The failure of the Golden Daughter has brought you to my doorstep. Despite my voice breaking, I am still your sister, Lily said. My apologies. There were no words. I was on the verge of bending for a second. Still, I recalled the 5 months earlier scene in which I stood in the living room, displaying a framed portrait that my father flat out refused to touch. As I was instructed to depart, I recalled Lily smiling and sipping her cocktail. I told you I had forgiven you all a very long time ago. But pardoning does not imply saving the victim. Lower lip trembled Lily. Money is at your disposal. Your revenue would be unaffected by this. I responded by saying that was precisely why I was withholding information from you. Why? Because I am not a sister in your eyes. I am just a check. Here, no, Martha murmured. Our daughter, you are. I interject only when it's practically necessary. Despair clung to them like wet clothing as they stood there in the morning chill. Tears welled up in my eyes, but I held them back. I declared my desire for a change. They aren't, though, clear and final, I remarked after taking a step back. Ask the daughter you picked out whether she can be your salvation. After that, I shut the door. No, I did not pass out. None of that made me weep. The kettle was brought to a boil by me. A cup of tea was poured by me. Their car sped off down the snowy road, and I stood by the window, watching. It was devoid of happiness. No retaliation, only tranquility. And I felt empowered for the first time. I waited 3 days. My hope was that kids would finally get that no meant no after this ordeal was done. After that, my email ran amok. The headlines were harsh. Tell me why you left your loved ones behind. An evildoer, you are. Your sister was entitled to more. The deluge of irate direct messages and emails made me flinch. Hundreds of comments sprung up under an Instagram photo of a fox that had been rescued on my studio's account. I hope the fox is aware of your callousness. Profit from animals is more important to you than your own blood. Falsely natural-looking girl. Perplexed, I responded to a message from someone who had taken my workshop. Before, you will find a screenshot attached. What Lily wrote, within Facebook, on the network known as LinkedIn. In a Reddit conversation, general population, put in a tag, using hashtags a slow-burning dagger, was how the caption read. Sharing this is difficult, but I have no other choice. Even though she went on to become a great content creator, my sister Jamie still wouldn't provide a hand when our family was in a jam. There is a way she can lend a hand, we pleaded. Because of this, we sobbed. She slammed the door behind us. I mean it. We messed up, and I get it. No one in a family would turn a blind eye to a loved one who was drowning. She puts her pride ahead of her compassion. I never thought she would. She remains my beloved. However, her identity has slipped. My mind. My breath was caught in a strange mixture of incredulity and something deeper as I peered at the words. The post wasn't the only one. I meant it that way. Dirty Laundry hadn't aired just yet. She had changed the plot such that I was the heartless bad girl who rejected financial gain in favor of her role as the devastated sister who yearned for love. What about the Web 8? It was. Stand up. Sponsors suddenly stopped supporting my studio. Due to recent reputation issues, one photography brand emailed to cease collaborations. Winter wildlife programs were cancelled by 3 clients. Mia, who is my assistant, wanted to know whether I was all right. My voice froze. After giving a simple nod, I returned to the dark room only this time. The silence had returned. Rog, my lawyer, and I were seated across from each other in a peaceful cafe that evening. He perused revenue figures, shares, headlines, and screenshots. A half-hour later, he finally looked up. This is a case of defamation, Jamie. No holds barred. A quantifiable decline in company performance, mental anguish, damaging one's reputation. Silence eluded me. I'm not implying that you must pursue legal action, but it is entirely within your rights to do so. The table was my weapon as I clenched my fists. Who is she? My sister. He crouched down. It was until she used you as a scapegoat to protect herself that she was. My gaze averted. It started to snow outside. I recalled the sly grin that Lily wore during the family gathering, her lack of reaction upon my dismissal. When she begged, her eyes were narrow and menacing. Finally, it went beyond simple treachery. The computation was done. She insisted that I pay in some way. I stared Rod straight in the eye as I took a deep breath. Write the complaint. Nodding, he refrained from smiling. File it on Monday. 6 weeks subsequent to that, the hearing was held. Unlike on television, the courtroom was rather calm. There was silence, no outcry. It was just fluorescent lighting that made everyone look a bit washed out, polished floors, and whispered conversations. Lily, dressed in a navy suit, sat across from me. She had her hair pulled back in a perfect knot and seemed to be staring at the desk as if it held the key to her freedom. Mostly, I avoided looking at her. That was unnecessary. Rod showed the judge every detail, including screenshots of Lily's posts, analytics from my YouTube channel showing the significant decrease in revenue, customer cancellations, and terminated contracts. He was straightforward. That wasn't necessary. The reality was screaming out. Lily provided a feeble defense. According to her counsel, it was an emotional expression, an impassioned appeal, free from malevolent purpose. However, it was rejected by the court. Simply put, impact speaks louder than intended, and effects. It was quantifiable for me. Easy to track, costly. The verdict was firm and unambiguous in the end. In addition to issuing a public retraction across all channels, Lily would pay $147,000 in damages. Misunderstandings are not tolerated, just the facts. Tears did not escape her eyes. I also didn't. I stood on the steps outside while people filed out of the building. If I would like a statement to be drafted, Rog inquired. It was a no-go for me. No need, I claimed. Silence will be more powerful than words. I refrained from celebrating that evening. The snow crunched under my boots as I strolled alone along the forest route behind my studio, my breath rising in clouds. I felt no sense of validation in my heart. No flames, very dull, only something sanitary. The air is like that just after a storm has passed. A note arrived in my mailbox the following morning. A message sent via regular mail. No text here. An authentic handwritten letter. My mom, Martha, gave it to me. I would have preferred a different outcome. This is beyond my repair. Your dad's anger hasn't subsided. Lily is now residing with us once again. Every room is dead silent. I really hope this family may be salvaged in some way. However, I am aware that this is no longer your responsibility. I reread it. Next, I tucked it away in a drawer. For the sake of harmony, not wrath. Their decision to expel me was the first to cross the line. I recently figured out how to hold it. I may come out as harsh to some of you. My mistake was not letting it go. That I ought to have called them, shown up, and saved the day. The thing is, I've learned this. No one has the right to abuse their family. Love does not imply frailty. Furthermore, limits are not retaliation. For them, it's all about staying alive. This is a reclamation effort. They are tranquil. So, have you ever heard that your value is only apparent when you're required? Has there ever been a time when you were treated more like an asset than a person? It is my pleasure to inform you. Resisting pressure is an admirable quality in a daughter. If you would rather have peace than suffering, you are not evil. It's enough. You've had enough of individuals who turn up when they see money. On occasion, that's the act of love that shows the deepest depth in your own name.